Well, good afternoon, coasters, and what a stunning coast day we've got here once again. I can't believe it. You won't believe who I've got as a guest today, and from all the way down by Mt Cook. And when I got the opportunity to talk to Luke, I thought I better have a look at what he does down there. First of all, before we talk to him, him and his wife own Mt Cook Lakeside Retreat. It overlooks Ben Ohau, the ranges there, Lake Pukaki, and of course, Aoraki Mt Cook. It is the most stunning place. They do weddings. I've got a mate who actually went to a wedding there. They cater for 200 to 300 people in the most stunning of environments. They've got a helicopter pad, so you can fly in, you can fly out, and it's right next to Mt Cook. It's there's thousands of photos around that you can have a look at of this place, and they are stunning. There's a couple of contact details that I will put up on the post for you, but
I love that.
You can ring Luke Coasters on 0274 370 820, or you can email him on reservations@mountcookretreat.nz. And I thought before I introduce you to Luke, because I can tell you this is a complete surprise to him. He doesn't know about any of this. I've checked out the latest review of his property. This is just done a few days ago. It was a treat for my husband's birthday. It's the big things that I looked at first. The villa was beautiful. The surroundings were stunning. We had a 3-course meal that was unbelievable and a yummy breakfast. There was a hot pool. And now I want to tell you about the little things. Marshmallows by the fire, the whiskey after this beautiful walk, a board game, and a very memorable stay. How's that for a bit of feedback? And coasters, I'd now like to introduce you to Luke Paardekooper, one of the joint owners. Luke, thanks so much for joining us today.
Look, Bruce, it's absolutely fantastic, and I'm humbled by the words that you have shared with your fellow coasters there. We feel very humbled, and of course we're just on the other side of the Alps, but it's wonderful to be here with you, and thank you for this opportunity.
Now, Luke, today, special day, it's day 301 since the COVID transfer in the community in the South Island, and yet we're in lockdown 3. Tell me, how are you finding it?
Oh, look, we're finding it very tough, just as I'm sure there's so many business on the coast as well. 301 days is quite incredible to think it hasn't got to us here. We're finding it very, very difficult. We're looking out over the lake towards Mt Cook with our wonderful villas, and of course we've got no guests at all. It's just really hard to imagine that we would get to this situation once again after another 12 months of relatively getting towards the domestic market and seeing domestic people coming here.
How did the domestic market treat you during that period, that last 12 months?
Look, I think, first of all, we did have a number of guests that came here that came through from the West Coast, which was great to see, because it is a wonderful journey right through that harsh to get to us. But initially, it was quite tough with the domestic market. People were. I remember Jacinda saying, go and bargain with people and get good prices. Well, that's all well and good, but a lot of businesses can't take a substantial discount for its guests. So initially it was very challenging, and people were expecting to take the shirt off our back. But I think as time went on, people realised the value that they get from, and it's just like any activity that has true value to it, of the experience that they get. And then they realised that there wasn't a need to so much screw the people down, but just to accept what was the fantastic experience that was offered and the fair price that was being asked for that. So as we sort of headed towards this last lockdown, we were seeing a number of people, both from the South Island, but mainly from the north, mainly from Auckland and Wellington, who were coming here to get away because they couldn't go overseas, which was great.
Luke, tell me about what happened when you and Kay sat on the edge of that massive fire in 2020. I read the article on that, and I've got to say, you must have been as nervous as what happened. What was it like?
Oh, look, they say things come in threes, isn't it? And it's actually interesting, Bruce, because it was yesterday, it was a year ago since the fire, the 31st of August, 2020. The fire, it's hard to describe. I actually went numb for the day. There was nothing you could do. There was just no way you could do anything. We were so lucky that we had a large contingent of helicopters. There were 18, one of the most biggest responses that I've ever had to a New Zealand fire. And of course, the thing is, it started about 10 kilometres away from us. And it took about 5 hours to get to our property. So during that time, that was very an anxious time, actually. And then, of course, the challenge was that it needed to get through our property that day before dark because the helicopters were unable to fight the fire during the dark. So we were nervously, we didn't want a fire, but we knew it had to come through us in daylight because otherwise we would have lost everything. We actually lost about 150 square meters of buildings on the property, not our main villas, thank goodness. But we lost 150 square meters. That's all being rebuilt now. We sort of see that we went back 4 steps, and now we've come forward 5. If you like, after the fire. Yeah.
So you lost the massage hut, and
the massage hut. We lost the sauna. We lost the hot tub of our main villa. We also lost our own personal hut that was at the back of our house where we originally stayed when we started building, which is our office. So yes, but the fire, our buildings, our main villas are actually made out of concrete block, which has been plastered. And the fires were lapping onto those villas, and it was only because there was concrete block that they actually didn't burn. So we were very thankful for that building method.
Yeah, Luke, how long? What started your adventure at Mt Cook where you are?
We've been in the event game now for 30 years. We have an event management company in Wellington, which has been decimated by COVID as well. But when our youngest child, Debbie, left home to go to Lincoln University, we wanted to see if we could find a different lifestyle. And we did the cardinal sin as we went out to a number of real estate agents in the sort of lower South Island from Christchurch down. And we asked them if there was a nice property around. You can imagine the response. But we happened to Kay came across this property, and it was full of wilding pines, as the West Coasters know that the Mackenzie's a wilding pine seed source, and our property was full of wilding pines, so you couldn't swing a cat on the property when we first bought it. It was totally covered.
Wow! And look, and you look at it now. You look at the photos. It is probably one of the most elite properties in the South Island. And looking at it and listening to the feedback that I've had, you obviously do a fantastic job. Look,
thank you. Yeah, sorry, Bruce. No, you go.
Well, look, I'm really interested in. Look, you're very experienced, and in South Westland, of course, Fox and Franz, I'm dealing with a lot of tourism sector businesses that are really up against the wall, and it's because their cash flow has gone from $1,000 to $50, and we're looking at. We've seen the wage subsidy scheme work well, but there's a piece missing, isn't there?
Yeah, I think there's a number of pieces missing. We quite often hear about be kind. the challenge is some of the pieces missing. The wage subsidy has been good. The challenge is that we're a great believer in paying above the living wage. So the wage subsidy doesn't actually cover our staff. So although it's a great starting point, it doesn't actually cover all that. And then the resurgent figure as well, which is the $1,500 plus $400 a staff. That once again only covers a small percentage of your actual overall overheads for the month. So although they're great to have and we're grateful for them, they don't actually cover the costs of what you're doing. And of course, the other challenges as well is staffing. We've got some great staff and we want to actually keep them here, which is really important for us. So we're doing everything we can to keep them here. The grounds are starting to look great again after winter. And one of our challenges is immigration. We have a low unemployment rate in New Zealand of around 4%. But there's just no understanding of what different organisations are needing around the country as far as staffing goes. And we had one hell of a battle to try and keep two of our team who were from Canada and America. And it just seems nuts that you're asked to advertise for a position and you get very little. In fact, one of the times we got no one applying who were New Zealanders. And you just seem to have to go for a whole lot of hoops, which is just challenging. It just drains you. It really does.
Luke, going back to the overheads, because your situation, you're running your business will be no different to maybe 20 or 30 businesses that I know of in Southwestern. What are the other cash costs that keep on rolling on that you've got to meet that aren't covered?
Well, look, it's simple things. It's simple things like your internet provider once a month, your phone coming in once a month. We had the guy come through to do a test on the fire alarms. It's another cost that comes in once every 3 months. And then for us, and I'm the same as in your region, you have your liquor license. And you need to pay the liquor license bill. The tourism rate bill, we have a tourism rate bill, which we're happy to pay. But when you got no tourists, you'd think that there'd be a little bit of a leeway to say, hey, listen, let's just keep the tourist rate side of it aside. So you got that, and then you've got your gas and your electricity. Your maintenance of the property, it just keeps on going. So it's not just one or two costs, it's just a continuous snowballing effect of all the costs you always have just to keep the doors open. And in fact, they're the costs you have just to keep the doors even closed.
Yes, they don't stop, do they?
No. So if you look down, if you look in Westland, I'm sure there's businesses all around down the main street that are just, they've still got to pay their rent, they've still got to pay the bank. It just constantly comes to you each month.
And of course, a lot of the ones I deal with they've got their rates, they've got to deal with their financiers or their bankers. Pretty dreadful. If there was, in your experience, is there a way forward for government to consider that would help the industry out, that will actually work?
I think there's a number of things. I think there's a real, if I can just step back a little bit, I think there's a real need. I haven't heard an acknowledgement that, this last lockdown has been caused by an outbreak that's come into New Zealand from New South Wales. It doesn't matter so much of, trying to find the exact details out, although that's good as well. But we need to acknowledge that's what's happened. We've had a muck up in the border, and that's what's caused us all to be in this terrible situation. So I think the first thing is we have to make our border dead tight. It has to be tight. We can't have any gaps at all. I suppose it's like making a nuclear plant facility, is you just can't have any gaps in the design of it. So I think that's the first acknowledgement. The other one would be good is we need to have hope. And I don't hear the things I would love to hear is that, we're really working to get open to countries that we can open up to. We're really pushing to get, I know they're saying we're pushing to get everyone vaccinated, right? And that's fantastic. And I don't think it's so much about the figure of vaccinations, but it's actually saying, well, once everyone's been vaccinated, we're going to have to open up, and we're going to do the planning before then, so that when that actually happens, we're ready to go. We've got time to plan for that now, so that when the majority of us are vaccinated, we can actually start to open up in a sensible way. The other thing is, I think, one of the travesties that I think happened, I heard about recently, is there are a number of businesses that received a huge amount of money last year as a loan, and we're talking about $500,000 for each business, and there wasn't a huge amount of them. Now that loan suddenly turned into a grant, so they actually don't now need to pay it back. So there's not a level playing field for people. One of the things I think would really help if people's accountants had the ability to actually sit down with each and every one of their business, their customers, and actually come up with a plan. And if that plan fell within a certain figure, let's say $200,000, that accountant had the ability to actually authorize that to happen for the businesses that were under their umbrella. I think to try and go through all the agencies that we need to is challenging. I personally think the accountant knows the business well, and there needs to be an element of trust in the government to say that working together, those two working together, would actually help to get the business through this challenging time.
It's interesting. A number of people have said that going through the hoops, you end up in such deep trouble financial-wise because it costs a fortune, and then often you get to the end of it and you've got to know anyway. And it must be pretty frustrating.
Yeah, look, I had that actually just over the last 2 days, and today actually I'm talking with MSD about one aspect. And, their answer is to say, well, go to your accountant and get his advice. Well, the challenge is the accountant costs you X amount an hour, a decent sum, and fair enough. But for our business, every dollar counts. We're trying to save every dollar we can. And to go and spend $1,000 on an accountant is just not around at the moment. It's just not there. Where I think there needs to be an element of trust and goodwill towards businesses to say, hey, listen, let's give you some slack. Because
it's creating one of the things I'm noticing even today under level 3, and we should be in level 1. I just don't buy the level 3. One of the things I'm noticing is the stress amongst the people I've met today. You can feel it. You can feel the tension.
Yeah. Huge. Look, a coffee shop that goes and sells, I don't know, let's say they sell 100 coffees today at $5 each, $500. They've got two staff there paying out $300, $400 in wages, and then they've got another $50 of product. So they got $50 to spend on maybe to put towards their bills. So it's just nuts. It's just really, really nuts.
Luke, really interested in your comments in relation to immigration, because as mayor, I get a lot of feedback on that, a lot of requests to assist, and the immigration thing is not. It can be improved, can't it?
Well, I think it's once again. Look, we've got a staff member here who put her residency application in 18 months ago, and it still hasn't been seen. It's still in the pile.
So she's in limbo.
Now, I as a business owner, I just can't come up with words to describe my feeling for that. Is at 18 months and it hasn't even been looked at, and the government is saying be kind. Now, we've got a good staff member here, and I'm sure it would all go through okay. Why not just make it easy? Does it actually matter if we've got I can't remember. I think it's about 4.5% unemployment rate at the moment. Does it really matter if there were 10, 20,000 people who are in the country working for places that were struggling like us, that you just give them some slack and say, hey, listen, here's a special visa, give them 3 years so that you can work through this challenge together. And it's just one monkey that's not on your back.
Be a huge benefit. How long do you think we're in this?
Look, but before this outbreak, and with Australia showing a good sign, I was thinking it would be really good to have a bubble with Australia that worked really well, and we actually stay with that for 6 months to 9 months. We've got to get the country to level 1. That's what we've got to do. And if we can do that, the challenge is that whenever you look on the tally or you listen to the radio, there's no one with skin in the game. They're all paid by the state. And I know this is a generalization, but they're paid by the state and they're all making decisions and they haven't got skin in the game. So that's what's dragging us out. We've got to sort of say, how can we get to level 1 faster? How can we get to level, because we've got to be at level 1. Now, I think if we can keep New Zealand at level 1, and we say we keep that for the rest of the year with the aim to open up to potentially Australia and maybe one other country that's doing well. And we're talking possibly Singapore or a country that's doing really well. And if we can open up to that, so imagine if it was Singapore, and I think there's roughly 20 odd million or something, isn't there, in Singapore? Imagine if we could have a bubble that has Singapore, Australia, and us. We're going to be as big as hell. And we say, let's keep that bubble to winter 2022. And then we start to open up to another country. And I think that's the way to that's what I'd love to see, because if we've got a population of 40, 50 million, whatever it is, that are wanting to travel, West Coast will see a hell of a lot of people come through. We'll see a hell of a lot of people come through. And that would be my plan to make that happen. But we've got to get our border tight of not allowing this thing in until we got the vaccine spread out. And once we've got that, we've got to be, I would love Jacinda to say to us, listen, once everyone's had a chance to the vaccine, we are going to open. Our restrictions are that people won't be able to travel to New Zealand unless they're vaccinated. They have to have a vaccination passport. End of story.
Yeah, and look, one of the things we're missing, and it's been all the way through, is that here we are in the South Island. We were in level 4. Now, I didn't have any problem going into level 4 when Delta hit Auckland. I didn't have any problem with it. Yep. Then we're dropped to level 3, but there's no clear pathway to what happens next. And so we're all hanging on a piece of string, and it's disastrous. So a definite plan that we could all understand. I mean, if you go and apply for government funding for anything as a council, you've got to have a business plan. It's got to have dates, KPIs, the whole works. You go to your financiers and go for funding. They want to know when, how are you going to do it? It's pretty straightforward. That's the missing link with this government, and I think it's a business link that's missing. They're not. Yeah,
absolutely. I don't disagree with you about level 4 going in. I still think we could have gone faster into it. But it's maybe if we were down at level 2, level 1, maybe every business that has a customer comes through gets a $50 voucher from the government towards the cost of the meals or whatever the experience is, or 20% towards whatever it is, but just to get the South Island moving so that for the next month, people from Christchurch want to go over to the West Coast. And you may actually differentiate it as well. You may say, look, if you're going to the West Coast to spend money, we'll give you a 30% rebate on your spend, just to get people moving out and about.
And get a bit of cash flow.
it's all about cash flow, and it's thinking differently. You know, you and I could sit here for an hour and come up with 10 ideas of how to do it, easy peasy. But the problem is that the people who are sort of making these decisions don't have skin in the game, and it's all about that family or that retired couple that comes over to the West Coast, comes down past us. They're stopping at the pie shop. They're stopping at the garage shop. They're stopping at Dock and Arthur's Pass and spending money in the cafe there, and then they're staying somewhere for accommodation, whatever works for them. It's a no-brainer. It really is a no-brainer. How can you quickly inject money into a region? Can you imagine that if every shop on your main street got a 20% rebate from the government for people coming in to visit them?
Oh, should be great fun.
It would be great. And what would it? And it may cost $5 million for 2 or 3 weeks. Wouldn't it be worth it?
Oh, look, what a great idea. Now, Luke, as we get to the end of this wee chat, how about telling coasters, because I can tell you on the coast here, when we want to go somewhere, sometimes we go to Nelson, we all want to go to Mt Cook. Tell me, convince me that my next trip with my wife Jenny should be to Mt Cook.
Well, look, this is a place to come and be. We talk about relaxation here. The amount of people that come here and just enjoy what we have on site. So our villas are amazing. That you get a whole villa. It's basically the size of a house with an open fire, beautifully appointed bedrooms and bathrooms. Each villa has its own hot tub. So you have your very own hot tub that you can just soak in and enjoy the stars. We also have our very own wine cellar and observatory on site. So it's actually very rare to have those together. So at nighttime we can go out on a good night, whatever night works that you're here, and we can go and tell a few lies in the wine cellar over a whiskey. And then we move through to the observatory, and we got a fantastic telescope. And that telescope, you can actually put cameras onto either a Canon or a Nikon, and you can take wonderful views of the deep space photography. It's just stunning. So that's a beauty here. And as I look out the window, and Pukaki's on a beautiful still day, and Mt Cook's just shining in the distance. It's just that ability to take time together. We don't have TVs. We've got board games, and we've got the view, and we've got the hot tubs. And you're only a short distance away from Mt Cook, which has got some great walks, the helicopter trips. You can even just fly over from the coast to us. So we think it's pretty special, and we feel humbled as a New Zealand couple to actually own a luxury lodge, and we feel humbled every day to wake up, and the wonderful guests we have and the reviews we get tell it all, and we got great staff.
They certainly do. What's your website?
So our website is www.mtcookretreat. So it's MT Cook for Mount Cook Retreat.nz. And of course, if anyone wants to give me a ring, they can on 0274 370 820. And look, I'd love if they mentioned they've been listening to us today. I'll look after them.
Well, look,
maybe some white bait would help.
Well, look, I've been down the river today, had a wee bit of a look. I didn't see much, it's fair to say.
Yeah.
But look, Luke, thanks so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'd love to do it again at some stage.
Absolutely.
And look,
Absolutely.
If you wanted to wander around with your camera and do a video, it could be 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes. Throw it on a memory stick or Dropbox it to me, and I'll play it to our members. We've around about 35,000 members.
Oh, amazing! We'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, videos are seen up to 300,000 times every 7 days.
That's great. Well, we'll definitely do that, and we love coming over to the West Coast. We're over in Greymouth recently doing some biking on the trail, and it was just wonderful. It's just beautiful. And in Hokitika there, we had a look around, and it's just great. I love the love the coast. It's great.
Well, look, we can't, coasters, we can't beat that. Look,
No.
on that,
No, we're just over the hill. We're just over the hill.
well, look, we'll see if we can beat a track your way. But look, give our regards to Kay, and
Yep, we'll do that.
And thank you so much for joining us, and we'll keep in touch.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Really appreciate your time, eh? Lovely. Thank you very much.